reflect our primal plight. Steel giants roar thunder in a land of dirt and wonder. Electric dreams of battle games. Robot lions play their names. Steel giants roar thunder in a land of dirt and wonder. Electric dreams of battle games. Robot lions play their names. Their claws against the storm. Flashing lights, the beast is born. Their soldiers fight unseen through a world of shattered dreams. Zoids arise, little beasts awake. Fight the dark in a world that's fake. Zoids arise, you've got to break free. brave, so cold. Stories of our battles bold, glorious in the gleaming light. Zoids reflect our primal